finally back home and it's ghetto. It's freezing. My tan is receding. But oh my gosh, everybody keep asking me, how was it? How was it? How was it? And let me tell y'all. These days, I'm letting God handle all things above. The things I can't change are the reason you love. How you doing? How you feeling? It's your girl, Big Daddy Jenn. We back at it again with another video. I feel like so much has happened. I don't even know where to start. Like, since my last video to now, like, bruh, the time is time, and I can't believe we're like in November already. Before I go into like the nitty gritty, and I definitely have more videos talking about updates as far as that, let me just tell y'all, girl just came, I'm back from Bali, and I'm feeling like that girl. But like, so many people will ask you like, oh, how was it? How was it? And I'm gonna just tell y'all, go watch the video. But it wasn't for a vacation. This year, God has just really been showing me that his timing is better than my timing. I always tell you I'm a retired people pleaser, and I'll keep saying that over and over again. But I knew honestly, like this year, I wanted to find out what Jennifer wants to do. Like, what do I like to do? And letting God just lead me where he wants to lead me while I figure that out. I knew one of the biggest things I wanted to focus on was my career. And like, I knew that was just going to put me through a roller coaster of different places. So I knew like I wanted to be financially conscious, and told God in the beginning of the year, like, okay, if I'm going to be taking things seriously and figuring things out for myself, I know I'm not going to be outside traveling left and right. And if I do travel, maybe it'll be a little domestic flight here and there, but never internationally. Fast forward, I think March, April, one of my good friends / my sister in the church, she been on this retreat with this organization called Brave by Faith. And she's like, when I tell you that girl be on her, she be on her thing. Like, I honestly kind of look up to her in a sense. She was like, she's going to go on this other one in Bali, and she had asked me if I wanted to go. And prior to that, I kid you not, like, we didn't really like hang out like that, but like we had a good relationship. So when she asked me, I was like, God, what is going on here? Of course, I'm talking about it with different people. I'm thinking about it. Some are giving me, yes, you should go, like, go to Bali. You don't know what this is like. This is a once in a lifetime experience. And some people are like, girl, didn't you just say you was not like gonna go anywhere? Like, being financially conscious for me. And I understand both decisions, but like, I've been learning to like go with the decision that is spirit led. Like, go with the decision that God has told me to, and being sensitive to God's voice. So in that time, like, what didn't seem possible turned into a yes for me. And so I said yes, and honestly, like, the year just kept going by itself. And of course, things happened in between. I don't think I really processed that I was going on this trip for real. Like, of course, the payment is coming out the card. Everything is happening, moving towards it. But, like, I don't think it really hit me until October. This is something set out from March. I didn't leave until October 13th. And it wasn't until, like, October comes around and, like, my friends are like, Jen, like, you really leaving? And I'm like, yeah. Prior to that, and I kid you not, guys, I've never been on more than a 5-hour flight. I've never traveled on the eastern side of the world. I've never, like, just been that far in general. So this is nothing regular. But, God was pointing me like, this is not a regular life you finna be living. So yeah, I was like, I should be getting ready for this, right? So yeah, now the day is heading. We're getting ready to go. And we're getting on the plane. Why nobody tell me these flights is long? Like, I knew the flight was long when I booked the flight and everything, but like, I didn't think about the length of the flight. Like, I feel like I wasn't really thinking about like, yeah, girl, you actually going. Like, I just knew I was going. And so I'm getting on the flight, they saying it's a 12-hour flight and then a layover and then another 10-hour flight. And I'm just like, yeah, I got this. And I just wasn't scared. And I just knew that was something different happening. Like, this was a different kind of trip, because usually I'm thinking about like, what if this and what if that? And I'm an overthinker, y'all. So I was like, I was just so like going with the flow. A couple of things that I realized, like, one, the flight, that was my first long flight. So after 5 hours, I'm sitting there scooching my butt, all of this stuff. Like, yo, what's going on? Like, get me off this flight. But overall, the airline was pretty good. I flew Qatar Airways, and that was a good airline. Like, I sat economy, which I don't know. Next time, I think I might have to like upgrade myself because that's a long flight to be sitting up. Like, that's a long flight. The food was decent. You know, they give you like breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack. They fed me. Like, one thing I was well fed, because if I was hungry, that would have been another problem. But the flight was good, and like I couldn't really say too much about the flight. Like, that was my first long flight, and I think I went through the rite of passage. Like, I feel like now that I've been on that flight, like, y'all can't tell me, like, I can't. I'm going to see the world now, because I mean, I always knew that I like wanted to travel far, but like prior to that, I always had like issues with my ears. I'm rambling on. Yeah, like I just didn't think that was like something that would be happening so soon, you know? I thought like if I was to be ever traveling like across the globe or something like that, maybe it would be like for my honeymoon or something like that. You know, I'm speaking into existence. It's not like thing, but it's coming. Now we get in there. The first going there, we only had an hour layover. You gotta realize every place is different in itself. Why nobody's even tell me like y'all got different outlets? Like, nobody told me that. I be seeing all these beach photos, all this stuff, but nobody told me the outlet was different, and that's very important to me. Like, so I bought this universal charger, whatever. We back on board. Touchdown in Bali, it's 11 p.m. their time. So it's 11 a.m. back home. Time difference, another thing. Like, nobody's telling me any of these things. Like, I should have done more research, but you know, we learn as we go and we move. Yeah, so since it was a retreat, the cost covered our stay, the things that we would do out there, transportation, etc. So the process getting out of the plane, I come out, you know, dude got like my little name on the phone, like, and I'm like, okay, we on vacay. I've been on a couple different trips now, so I would say like I'm a novice. I would say I know how to plan a trip. However, two things I've been trying to be is more intentional about the places that I'm in, as well as being more sensitive to God's voice. Sometimes like I do double back and I like go back to what I know, what I'm comfortable with, because in this relationship, when you're growing, you're taking risk, you're pushing outside of your comfort zone, and sometimes what you're comfortable with is not good for you, and you go back to it, or you're surrounded with a bunch of stuff that is not him, that you are stuck in the noise. Like, you can't like separate yourself and be able to hear God. I just felt like God gave me this trip to show me something. It was just really given luxury, you know, like everything was taken care of. People helping us, getting through immigration, all that stuff. We had transportation already set. Like, I'm just like, okay, God, put me in VIP per. We waited for the other girls, because I only traveled with Taj, but it's a retreat with other girls. It was supposed to be, I think, maybe 16, 15, and then it ended up being 7, 8 of us. I think most of our flights landed around the same time. So we waited, and then we all rode to the villa together. When I first got there, the villa was gorgeous. Like, I think that's when it really hit me. And I feel like I just kept having that moment. Everything was set up so nice. Like, our rooms were beautiful. The villa was beautiful. And it just felt good to be in warm weather in October, okay? I'm not gonna go day by day, like what happened, but just touching on something. The retreat, like, I've been on one other retreat before this retreat, and it was this year too. So it's safe to say I'm a retreat girly. Like, if you haven't been on a retreat, I highly recommend. 10 out of 10. The lady who organized this, her name is Juliet. She also organizes a bunch of other retreats too. Like, I think she has one coming up in Egypt, Greece. I don't know. This girl be out. This girl be outside in a good way. And there's so many other ministries that do retreats. Like, something about going away somewhere and coming back with your spirit filled, or like a further confirmation of the direction that God is putting you in. It's so good to hear. Like, I feel like now we live in a generation where people take trips and traveling as an escape, but like, when we're traveling, we're exposing ourselves to new territory, and there's always something to learn being in new territory. So before this retreat, the retreat that I went to, of course, it was like, you know, in the woods, and we had workshops, and it was more like class based. That one was phenomenal. That one really opened my eyes to see like what heaven looks like when you're in a community with like-minded people. I'm going next year. I have to. This one was more so like a mix of vacation, daddy daughter VIP treatment, and like spirit-filled conversations. Like, I felt like we had like different activities every day. Like, of course, seeing Bali, we did the Bali swing. We saw the village. We went out there, experienced the culture. The food was fresh. But just even how it was led, like every day we had breakfast together. You know, I'm a sucker for avocados, and I think I had avocado every day. Just the fellowshipping that we had. Like, I didn't know them prior to this trip, but like immediately our conversations felt like we knew each other for a while now. Every day we were assigned a different prayer partner, and we would like have a devotion, and it basically touched on something, and then we would go with our prayer partners, discuss it, and then pray for one another. And I felt like, and the prayer partners were picked out before we came on the retreat, before we knew each other. So I felt like God literally aligned everything so that it would all like make sense. So every day, like every prayer partner I had just gave me confirmation on a lot of things. Like the first day, I talked about guarding my heart and like, you know, being firm in my boundaries. And I literally brought a book named Boundaries, which I haven't finished, but it just was like, okay, you're already on the money, God. The second day, me and this girl was sharing a testimony. We were sharing like our life story, and it was similar seasons, just feeling just like being in a season of stagnation and just so fearful of failing that we don't even start. And we were both sharing those same experiences, and also talking about how like we came here with no expectations, and just being sensitive to the voice of God and just allowing God to speak to us. By that second day, like I came home and I was just kind of like, I said I came home like, you know, the villa was my crib, and it was. But by the time I came back, I just kind of felt like, I don't know if it was like an insecurity thing, but like I just didn't think I would be in that position, or I don't think I would be able to be here. Not to say like I don't travel, but like I just didn't see that happening for me in this year. So I was so caught up in like wanting to let social media know that I was out here and that I'm in Bali, like, and I cannot believe it. And I'm already seeing things, and it's such a culture shock that like I wasn't focusing on what God really wanted to tell me out here. And although I was being poured to and I was listening to and I was taking notes, I felt like I was still trying to like prove that I was out there, or prove, you know, something. I completely deleted social media for the rest of the trip, and I was just kind of like, all right, you know what? Like, I'm just going to experience this. Like, when am I going to be back here again? Soon, you know, I'm gonna be back there for sure, but like, let me experience this trip while I'm here, you know what I'm saying? So the next day we talked about the life cycle of a butterfly and identified different seasons we might be in. And I start to see life as seasons now, because I feel like God is constantly upgrading me, but in order to upgrade me, he always separates me from something. And I definitely identify that like I'm in a pruning season right now, and I'm going to do a video on that, because that in itself needs its own video. But y'all, it is ghetto. It is ghetto, and it's hard. And like I knew that prior to coming to the trip, because I had to let go of some things that I didn't want to, as well as like I had to identify that I could not move forward with some of the things that I kept doing. And I needed to understand root issue. Like God is not no he not no surface level God. Like he's a root issue God. So if it's something that's hindering between you and him, he gonna address it. That God confronted me, and then I was like, all right. Like I knew I had to like obey and get rid of some things, or obey and like take a step back from certain things before like I suffer the consequence the hard way. The cries that I've cried, this is not no little cry. And like there's some things like I just don't want to go back to. Like, you know, God really delivered me from the pain of experiencing certain things, and when I reflect on those pains, I know it was tied to my disobedience, or tied to me not being in a place where I could hear instructions from God. So this time, like I was seeing that I was repeating a pattern and God kept addressing it. I was like, you know what? We in a pruning season, God. I'm gonna just enroll myself, because let me enroll myself before you enroll me. And now I'm sitting here crying while brushing my teeth. Like I identified that I was in a pruning season, and we talked about that. And then my prayer partner that day literally said like just a couple months ago she got out of the pruning season, and like she's so confident in herself, and she's just like so content on where she's at and like who she is. And that's something I've always wanted for myself. Like, and so she really just confirmed that like this season will be like one of the best and hardest seasons for me, because it's very painful. It's, you know, pruning is not easy, like physically, but also like you'll learn so much about yourself. And I just hope like I hope a couple months from now like y'all see like the growth or something. And I hope like I just honor this, because I'm not gonna lie, coming back, we gonna talk about that later. So yeah, everything every day aligned. On top of that, I feel like me and God's relationship was like similar to David's. And it's so crazy because this year God has been pointing me to read the story of David and like understand David's character and why they call him a man after God's heart. And like I feel like sometimes I talk to God and it's like I'm a child, like, and like I'm a daddy's girl and I'm learning how to be with a father for the first time. And even out there, I feel like I've always wanted to work on my prayer life. I've always like I've been trying to grow my prayer life, get in studies more, even though like, you know, I be inconsistent with a lot of things, and I pray God will, that's a work in progress. Amen. But during the retreat, I prayed, but I prayed in unconventional ways. Like I prayed through singing, I prayed through writing things down, I prayed through just saying random things. And God really showed himself in this trip. Like I was like, God, I pray I get some butter chicken tonight. And when I touched down in Bali that night when we got to the villa, mind you, we in Indonesia. I don't know if they have butter chicken out there, but there was butter chicken in that villa. Amen. But yeah, like just little things. I said, God, like I want ribs, I want fish. And it's like I was making the menu. I don't know, but God was like supplying, and I was applying. Okay, so I just felt like God was just really showing me things here and there. Like I hope I see this. I hope I, and God was just answering them. And like I was just like, God really does listen. And I know God listens because he's shown himself to me. But when you're on vacation, you can really see God in certain things if you like, sitting down and you're looking at the ocean and you're like, wow, God is just like so wonderful. But like when you're back home and you're going through a routine and you're at work and you're like doing this and you have all these responsibilities, you have to put yourself in the presence of God. You have to be intentional about your relationship. Just like whatchamacallit, like when you're on a vacation, and I've done the vacation season. It as well. And I know now, like, be careful. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave that at that for now. But when you're on a vacation, it's given very much you married out there. Like your relationship is so strong because y'all just happy. Y'all even coordinating fits. The itinerary is just itinerarying, and life is just great. But when you get back home and all the other factors in your relationship is there, you have to make your relationship matter. You have to work just as hard as the other person is working hard on you to make the relationship matter. So yeah, out there, me and God was like locked in with the butter chicken. So like the last day, or the second to last day, I just prayed that this girl, specifically this woman, that she was my prayer partner. And I was like, I mean, granted, I said that because the day before, her and her prayer partner got free cake because it was her birthday. And I was like, girl, I'm gonna pray that you're my prayer partner tomorrow. But she would actually was, and like she confirmed a lot of things for me. Definitely helped out like my prayer life, and just telling me like the way you communicate to God, the way you communicate in general, whether you journal, whether you sing, whether you read, whether all these things, those are the same ways you can worship and talk to God. And so she really opened me back up to journaling, and as well as she wrote a book and gave us a copy and like signed it. Every day was just so intentional. I'm just so grateful to have experienced that. And then I think the biggest thing of all, like one thing like I definitely think like I have to work on in this pruning season is being validated by God and being validated and trusting that like who I am is enough. And like not who I wanted to be, who people make me to be, who this like, but no, who I am is enough. And I don't have to belittle that. Like I feel like I struggle with, not struggle, but like I mean, I struggle. Yeah. One thing that I've been trying to like stand firm in is like my boundaries and who I am and who I'm not as well. And I like go back to certain things because I feel like letting that be known who I am, if it doesn't align with other people, will make me less loved. And I have to just remember that God loves me. And like, if God is going to put me in a pruning season in Bali, so be it, okay? I laughed, I loved, I got to see Bali and things that I noticed in Bali too, like the culture. I was able to soak up the culture. Like Western versus Eastern thinking is two completely different thinkings. And I love it. Like people was asking me, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from the United States. And they're like, where is that? And I'm like, what? Everybody knew America. Like, no, they humbled me out there. But then just like people are just so content with their culture. People are so content with like what they have, you know? Like what they have is really all they need out there. And like they have like everything around them and they make do with that, and they're so rich in culture and you can see it out there. Everything that they do is so evident. What they practice is evident. What they say, like their language, everything, how they maneuver. And then like so many people that I talk to out there from Indonesia, they don't really have like a real need to leave Indonesia. Like they're content there. Like that was just a beautiful thing to see. Like cuz I feel like back over here, I'm in the United States, you know, in case I got some like overseas subscribers. But in the United States over here, I feel like we rush to like get more and we're never content with what we have. And what we have is like never enough either. And so like I remember reading this article when they said 6 figures is the lower middle class, and I was like, but like at the same time it's just like that mindset is always going to make you dissatisfied when there's so much to be happy for. Like out there, my money was long, y'all. Like I don't know why I'm laughing in a room by myself, but it was. And just like the people out there, they're just different out there. Like they're so apologetic. Like I bumped into this lady, she's saying sorry to me and I bumped into her. Now I know if that happened over here, that would have been a different story. And just in general, like people are not afraid to like tell you about their culture, and not just like the tour guides but random people, and you'll see it. It's evident. Like now it's like I feel like even in this world, like I have to, not in this world but over here, like me being a Christian, I feel like I have to walk on eggshells sometimes, or like not say certain things, or da da da, because people are so quick to be like, aren't you this or aren't you that? And it's just like as I'm learning, like, you know, I am who I am. People in Bali, they they make it known, like they are who they are. People want to go out and see them. Like people want to go out there. They ain't rushing to come over here. They not. So that was like the retreat overall. Coming back though, we had a 17-hour layover in Qatar. I mean, we decided to make it a little vacation in the vacation. So we stayed in a hotel out there. It was the Oryx Hotel in the airport. And then we went out and saw Doha. So we had to go through this long immigration process to like go outside, but it wasn't that bad. And then after that, we went out and saw Doha, and I don't know if this is offensive or not, but I really felt like I was in some sort of Aladdin or something. Like it was really like that. But I was surprised to see that it's actually mad cultures out there in Doha, Qatar. Qatar. I heard it was Qatar, so we just gonna rock with Qatar. But I was out there and we made the most out of it. The layover, we were able to see the culture, shop around. I bought some oud, you know, it's that good perfume oil out there. Bush bush. It was just so fun. Like I got to learn so much about Taj too, like the one I went out there with. Um and like it was just a great experience overall. Now I'm back home. It's been about 2 weeks since I've been home now, and it was a lot. Like coming back, especially when you've been poured into, like now when you're given confirmation, when you're giving direction, now there's instruction. Now like wisdom, I've just finished reading about David, now moving on to Solomon, and him being so wise in the Bible. Like the first lesson I'm already learning is like wisdom is useless if you don't apply it. And so like coming back with all this wisdom, I knew that I had work to do, and baby, the jet lag was lagging. Like the jet lag was lagging. I was not on my P's and Q's when I got back. Like my sleep schedule was messed up, and then I was trying to work into a new work schedule. It was just I wasn't understanding the assignment. So the first week I was off, real off. And then on top of that, I felt like, you know, I thought I was going to come back on some, I'm perfect now. But now it was like, no, like now you have to be really intentional because you have the other factors back into play. So if you really want this, like you really want this relationship with God, if you really want to move forward, then you have to be intentional about moving with what you know, with what God has told you. And so like this past week, I would say I'm doing a bit better. Things are starting to come together, and I'm starting to understand the assignment. I definitely know that I'm in a position, in a posture of like always learning, and as well as finally like applying some of the things that I have learned. I'm just grateful overall to experience this retreat, have this trip. So many things in between that I'm gonna talk about in separate videos because there's so much to learn in this life. In 2023, we on the last leg, and like I just can't believe it. Like, again, I'm in a pruning season right now, but it was pruning season in Bali, like go off me. But I'll definitely put the links below as far as like the information, other things that I've like talked about throughout the video. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. But make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. I really appreciate you guys for listening to me talk. Like, and just overall, like, I hope you guys are getting something out of this. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.